Is anybody scared of heights? Anybody scared of heights? How would you feel living on the 40th floor? Not so good? Maybe the second floor? Are you a low floor lover? You know where I got that expression from? Literally, realtors have a listing on a low floor. They will write, calling all low floor lovers, because people, I know it's crazy. You got to know the realtor lingo, because people are, it's serious. They are scared of heights. And when you are looking to purchase a property, you got to remember that the condo, some of these buildings, they go up over 40 floors. That's, if you're scared to get up there, that's something you need to really think about. And depending on where it's situated, is the condo on the ocean? Is it located in the city, rural area? Is it in an urban area? All that's going to come into play as far as maybe like what height elevation you prefer and you want. My goal is to take the numbers out of it, right? Don't worry about 10 versus 6 or 40th versus 28. Don't do that, because it can be so much easier. And the reality is, because you have a number in your head doesn't necessarily mean it's going to mesh up with all the properties that you're looking at, and you might miss out because you're fixated on a number. Let me give you an example. I was working with these buyers, and the husband was scared of heights, and he was a low floor lover, and he said nothing over the 5th floor. And I'm like, okay, nothing over the 5th floor, but it's just an arbitrary number. Like, what does that really mean to you, the 5th floor? Like, I get I'm not going to show you condos on the 20th floor, but the 5th floor, like, that's okay, but we can't go to 6 or 7, right? And you probably don't want to be on the 1st floor. You're leaving like a really small window, and you haven't even been in any of the properties to kind of gauge your real comfort level. Essentially, I had just said, okay, I appreciate that you do have a fear of heights. We're gonna stick to condos under the 10th floor, but I don't want to eliminate something that really you're not gonna notice the difference in the elevation. I also explained to him, you have to keep in mind that each building is built differently. One building might start on the 1st floor. When you get in the elevator, you can push floor 1, right? And it goes up a floor. Another building might start on floor 3. If you only want to go to the 5th floor, in that building, you're kind of really only on the 2nd floor, right? And you would definitely have gone higher in that building. And wouldn't you know it, the condo on the 7th floor in that building was the one you would have fallen in love with, and you missed it. We really don't want to be so paralyzed by a number. We want to know the elevation and feel it for ourselves. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is that depending on the balcony, you might not be as concerned with the elevation. For example, I don't have a fear of heights. I'm okay. I've lived in the penthouse, and I've lived down until around the 4th floor and everywhere in between. I'm okay. However, there is one condo complex that I was in, and the railings of the balcony were all impact like glass, right? They were clear. So when you are out there and you're up on, maybe like a 22nd floor and it's all glass, that might be a little bit more like, ooh, okay, like I'm really feeling the height, versus if that balcony was half concrete and then the other half was railings. Again, there's so many factors that come into play when it's elevation. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that when you do go into the properties, you kind of want to give them a feel from the other rooms. The living room, sit on the couch. Like, nobody says you have to like dangle off the balcony. You're just gonna go out there and look, or you can enjoy it from inside. I had one couple, and the husband wanted the view. I want the view, I want the view, I want the view. I'm like, okay, so we have to go up quite a few floors to really get that expansive panoramic view that you're looking for. And the wife was like, nah, nothing, nope, nothing high, nope. I don't like heights, I'm scared, I don't like heights. And I was like, okay, what really we're looking for is a building that's positioned that offers you an unobstructed view where nothing is blocking you, but it isn't that high up. We ended up going with a 6th floor elevation, Both of them were super happy. It happened to be a beautiful unit, and I'm very happy that they're still living in it, married, and they came to a good compromise. You got to keep in mind that it's not all about the number. Another time I was working with this couple, and she wanted the highest floor possible, the penthouse, only penthouse, as high, the top floor, that's what I want. They wanted the penthouse. And I'm like, look, I get it. My mother-in-law, when we used to come and visit her, and she had a second home, and she lived in the penthouse, and she would literally call it, oh, you know, my penthouse apartment. And some people just like the prestige of saying the penthouse. And other people, they're like, forget it, I don't want to be that high. Again, that woman wanted the highest floor possible. And I said, okay, what about, you know, there's such a thing called a lower penthouse. But they wanted the premium, the penthouse in the building. And that was great. And we just focused on higher floor units. But again, it's really important that you know how that building is actually laid out. A lot of the buildings, the parking garage is the first 2 floors. Then you go into the lobby. Then you might start on floor 1, but you've already gone up, you know, technically by elevation, maybe 3 or 4 floors. Again, it's knowing, being familiar with the different buildings, getting educated, asking questions, and then really, you know, it'll just be an exercise in what can you tolerate and what do you feel comfortable walking through. And that's why it's so important to physically go in to each property. And I never have a problem. I will say, hey, listen, I know you don't want to go above, let's just say the 6th floor like my other clients, but I found this great property on the 10th floor, and I really think it checks all of your boxes. I'm booking it, I'm scheduling it, we are going to preview it. And if you don't get past the front door, that's fine, but I don't want you to miss out on it. And sure enough, you know, they got to the front door, and the husband was like, okay, I think I can go into the living room, and, you know, got into the kitchen, and it turned out that it was okay. It was the way the property was laid out. It was the way the elevation of the building was. It was everything that they were looking for. And he's like, nobody says I have to sit, you know, right at the edge of the balcony. I'm like, just open up the sliders and sit at the edge of the living room. But they were very happy. But don't get hung up on the number. You know, just don't get hung up on the number. So after years and years and years of conducting my own research to see what the sweet spot is with most buyers, I happen to find that the sweet spot for elevation is around 10, 12, up to 16. That's kind of where everybody likes to fall in the big scheme of things, especially when you're oceanfront. I will say that if you're buying in like a big city, you're gonna wanna go up to the top because you wanna get away from the noise of all the cars. You're gonna get above all the noise of the beeping, and you're gonna wanna see this beautiful expansive view over the other buildings. Again, everything is relative, and everything really just depends on where you're looking, where you're shopping, but don't rule out a condo just because you think the number is important. If you have any questions, please comment below and like and subscribe.